Hi, I'm Amber from Amber's Craft Week blog, and welcome to the third episode in my Pokemon Bounding series. Today we're going to be making my look for the second day of GoFest. Now I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, but at some point in time, Niantic released an in-game outfit for your avatar in Pokemon Go, and it was called the Pikachu Fan outfit. So I'm going to put up an image of my avatar wearing that outfit on the screen for you. Now I thought this look was really cute, and so I thought it would be fun to try replicating it for myself. So back when this first came out, I started buying some pieces for it. I already had a pair of black shorts I thought would work. I ended up finding a yellow crop top from I think Forever 21 that I thought was going to work for it. And so I made a set of ears. I never quite finished it, that was as far as I got. So I thought for the second day of GoFest, I would finish up my Pikachu Fan trainer costume and wear that. Now my version is slightly different from the in-game version, so I'll show you a rough sketch of what I envisioned. So the in-game outfit consists of the top, shorts, shoes, and ears. And so for shoes, I don't have yellow sneakers. I'm just going to be wearing some yellow high heels I have. And then during the day when I'm out and about, I'm probably going to wear some black sneakers. So yellow shoes for pictures, black sneakers for out and about. And then I already have ears, so I'll show you those real quick. So these are the ears I made a few years back. And I have the template for this and the directions over on my craft blog, so I'll be sure to link to that below. Mine have gotten a little floppy over time. They don't look too bad right now, but you'll see when I model the whole look later, probably this ear is going to flop down a little. So if you're making these for yourself, I would definitely recommend making a wire skeleton first and then inserting the ears over top of that. That way your ears won't flop around because they just were glued down and that gluing process has allowed them to flop around a little bit. Now I have two different pairs of black shorts I'm considering for this. I don't know yet which ones I'm going to wear, so I guess we'll find out when I do my reveal at the end. And then there are these little keychains kind of hanging off the belt loop on the avatar. Originally I wanted to make both of them, but I've decided I'm just going to make a Pokeball. And the reason for that is I've made myself a little plush Pikachu to carry around, and it just seemed kind of excessive to have a Pikachu in my hand and also on my belt loop. I thought having a plush would be a little more useful and practical, so I'm going to make the Pokeball keychain. That's going to be one of the things we make today. Now this is the top I have, and you can see it's not quite the same as the avatars in-game, but it's the middle of the summer, so I figured long sleeves were probably not what I was wanting to wear. So I got this little crop top, and I'm going to make a little vinyl Pikachu sticker to go on the front. That's my plan for the top, is to make a little vinyl Pikachu and place that over it. So that's going to be the other thing we're making today. Let's get started. For this project, you will need a yellow shirt, a copy of this Pikachu template, which I'll put up on my craft blog. You may need to resize the template to fit your shirt. Some tracing tools, some yellow removable vinyl. Make sure that it is removable vinyl you're using, otherwise it will not come off of your shirt at the end. Red cardstock, white cardstock, black cardstock. Now you could use vinyl here in place of the cardstock and it probably would work even more nicely. And some scissors. Our first step is going to be to cut out the different pieces of the template from their respective materials. So we're going to want to cut out one copy of Pikachu's body in yellow vinyl. And if you don't have vinyl, you could use yellow cardstock and double-sided tape. That may just stick to your shirt a little bit more. We're going to need Pikachu's cheeks in red cardstock and also Pikachu's mouth. We're going to need the ears in black cardstock, so those tips of the ears. The eyes in black cardstock, the nose in black cardstock, and then the whites part of the eyes in white. So I'm going to go ahead, cut out all the pieces, and then I'll be back. Now we have all the pieces of the template cut out. It's worth noting that while I used the template to trace Pikachu's outline, I ended up just freehanding the other pieces. I'm not 100% sure that was a good idea, but we're going to go with it for now. So our next step is going to be to glue down the different pieces of Pikachu. I was originally hoping to do that on screen for you, but I think it's going to be a little tricky to get the placements right. So I'm going to do that off screen and then I'll be back. So Pikachu is glued together now. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a marker and I'm going to draw edges here and here to kind of separate out the different parts of Pikachu's body. So I just have a black marker and I'm going to use the fine tipped end and I'm going to put a little bit of scrap paper down on my workstation. So I'm going to very carefully just draw a line here to kind of draw where her arm separates from her tail. And we're going to draw another line to separate her head from her tail. Now I'm not sure how well the marker is going to dry on vinyl, so if you're doing this you may want to spray it with an acrylic sealer at the end. I'm probably not going to do that and I'm just going to hope that this holds up alright as it is. But now Pikachu is basically done. All you have to do is when it's time to use her, peel up the backing and then stick her down to our shirt. To make the Pokeball keychain you will need at least 2 copies of this Pokeball template. I'll post it over to my craft blog. Some scissors, a metallic marker or tracing pen, something to trace the shapes onto your felt. Some red felt, some white felt, some black felt, thread in red, white, and black. Alternatively, you could use just a single color of thread, but the stitches will be a little more visible if you go that route. A sewing needle. You will also need some pillow stuffing. And lastly, some way to attach your keychain to your shorts. You could use a key ring for this, all sorts of things. I just had this little thing on hand that I think will work just fine for my purposes. The first step is to cut out all the relevant pieces of our template. I have these dash lines on here, and I know it's probably a little hard to see on film, but those kind of mark where different pieces go because I drew all the template pieces on one sheet of paper. So it's a little bit confusing. But this dash line that goes down the center, you're going to use that to do the Pokeball halves. So we're going to want to make one half of our Pokeball from red felt and the other half from white felt. So for this you're just going to take the circle and you're going to cut it in half. And we're going to cut out 2 copies of this top piece in red felt and 2 copies of the bottom piece in white felt. We need 2 because we need 2 for the front side of the Pokeball and 2 for the back side of the Pokeball. Next, we're going to cut out 1 copy of this shape right here. So this line here with the circle attached. We're not cutting out the inside bit. We're going to cut out that whole thing from black felt. And then we have these 2 little dashed lines going across here. So we're also going to cut out a copy of this black strip here, and that's going to go along the back. And that's also going to be from black felt. Now the last thing we need to cut out is this piece right here, this little circle on the inside, and we're going to use white felt for that. So I'm going to go ahead, cut out all my template pieces, and then I'll be back. Now we have all of our template pieces cut out. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the 2 halves of the Pokeball together for both the front side and the back side. We're going to be using 3 different sewing techniques to make this Pokeball. 2 of them, the back stitch and the blanket stitch, are fairly standard, and there are some excellent video tutorials out there online about how to do them. So I'll make sure to link a couple examples below. This one I'm not sure what it's called, so I'm going to try and demonstrate it as best as I can. It's one I kind of toyed around with when I was making my plushies, and it's just kind of a quick stitch. And we're going to end up covering over this in the end. So I'm going to be using some white thread for this, and it's going to be visible on the red, but since the center line is going to end up getting covered, it's not going to make a difference. So I'm going to take our 2 halves of our Pokeball, and I'm just going to poke our needle through and pull some thread through. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Just kind of poke immediately below and pull it through. And this is just a very rough way pull it through. This is kind of a rough way to hold them together because we're going to be sewing the black piece over top, whether it's the front or back. There's going to be something on the other, like over top this, to hold them together more firmly. But it helps to have them as a single piece before we get to that stage. So you could technically skip this one if you wanted to go straight to sewing the black pieces on. But I'm going to do this first to kind of make them a singular piece before we do that. And so you just kind of keep poking the needle through the red piece. And then poking it down through the white piece. I can tell already my stitches are coming out a little crooked. It's kind of hard to do for you on camera. That's the basic idea. So I'm going to go ahead and finish stitching these together and then I'll be back. Alright, so the two halves of our Pokeball are now Frankenstein together. I still don't know what the actual name is for that stitch, so I'm just going to call it the Frankenstein stitch for now because that's what it reminds me of. We're going to set those aside for a second and we're going to move on to this. So we're going to go ahead and sew our little white circle over this little black piece. Now I could do this using white thread, but a lot of times when you look at Pokeballs, there's like a little black ring inside here. If it's like drawn in 2D, I think it's supposed to be like a shadow. But I'm going to use some black thread so that I make it visible. And we're just going to do a back stitch for this. So for the next bit of time, we're going to be using the back stitch. And I will link a tutorial below. So if you're new to sewing, I'll have a good tutorial hopefully for you for that. But the basic idea is we're going to go ahead and bring our needle up through. And we're going to make a stitch. This is really hard to show you on camera. We're just going to go like that. Helps if I hold this where you can see it instead of holding it out of your range of vision. Then I'm going to poke the needle through the underside right here. And we're going to go back through that stitch we just made. So the end of this stitch right here, we're just going to go into that hole that we made. That's why it's called the back stitch, is because we're going back through. I'm making my stitches maybe a little bit large for this. So we'll make them a little smaller, I think, from here on out. And so we just make another stitch. And we go back through the end of the last one. And we keep going all the way around in a circle. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then I'll be back. Okay, so now I have this piece finished. Not my finest stitching, but it'll get the job done. I've been rushing a little bit trying to get through this so I can post it in time. And so I could have stood to be a bit more careful there. I'm a little disappointed with how that stitching came out. But again, it's going to do for our purposes. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to sew this along the dividing line on this Pokeball. And we're going to sew this along the dividing line on this half. And we're going to use a running stitch to do that. So I'm going to do that off camera. It's the same process as what we just did for this stitch. We're just going to go all the way around the edge on that one and then along both sides on that one. Probably also along these edges. So now I've sewed down the black felt. I also went ahead and sewed this onto the back. So I just put a few little stitches right there to hold our loop in place. So we're finally in the home stretch. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start sewing these halves together. So we're going to place them wrong sides together, like this, and we're just going to sew along the edge using a blanket stitch. And I'm going to leave an opening in the bottom here to add the stuffing. So we're going to start out, I'm going to start out on the white part, sewing around here. I'm going to switch colors when I get to black, switch colors again when I get to red, switch colors again. So here, when I get to about here, that's when we're going to add the stuffing. And then we're going to sew closed. There's a great tutorial for the blanket stitch, so instead of trying to show you it, I'm just going to link to that. But I'm going to go ahead and do some blanket stitches. You could also do back stitches here. I just like using a blanket stitch around the edge of plushie things. So I'm going to sew all the way to here, and then I'll come back and we'll add the stuffing. Alright, so now I've sewn up most of the edge, and we got this little opening in the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and add some stuffing. Now, how much stuffing you add is in some ways a matter of personal preference. Now, you could also make a nice Pokeball throw pillow using the same technique if you just enlarge the pattern a bit. Definitely considering potentially doing that sometime in the future. Alright, so now I've added the stuffing, I'm going to go ahead and sew this closed, and then we will be done. So here's our finished Pokeball keychain. On the whole, I think it turned out relatively well. I do have that stitching issue, but that's all on me. This is the finished look. Now you may notice that our Pikachu here looks a little different from when we made it. So if you want to make this for yourself, definitely buy vinyl, because apparently glue, or at least the glue I was using, does not stick to vinyl at all. Like, I went to peel this off its sheet to put it on the shirt, and Pikachu's face just came falling off. It was like the saddest thing. So I don't have any black vinyl on hand. I may see if I can get some between now and Go Fest so I can finish Pikachu off and have the face, but otherwise it's still a silhouette. It's still kind of cute. It still will work. So the keychain I think is fine. It's maybe a little large, although I don't think it's too bad. So if you may want to make it a little smaller, but I don't think it's bad. So this is yeah, this is what the lip looks like. Showing my poor sad Pikachu.
Yeah, it wasn't visible.
My faceless Pikachu.
Yeah, it's not even visible from here on the camera.
I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, I'd love it if you gave it a like or let me know in the comments. And if you like this kind of content, please let me know. This is my last Pokemonbounding video before Go Fest, but I have at least 3 more ideas in mind. So I would like to do Eevee and Vaporeon and Mew potentially. Don't know when, but if you'd like to see any of those, let me know, and I would be happy to put together some looks for those Pokemon because I adore all of them. Thanks for watching and have a great day.